All right. Hi, Norbert.
Hi.
You're on. So we're going to talk about tech package management.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Good morning for you. It's probably evening. For me, it's early morning. I had a long night enjoying most of the talks here in Japan. It's 5:40 in the morning. So I want to introduce you a bit to Tech Live packaging and what we have faced with respect to multi-platform support. So for a start, if you see this and you start crying and running away, don't panic, please. Yeah, this is not what we are discussing today. So I won't go into the convoluted tech language that is used, but more into the packaging. A bit about myself. I'm a mathematician and computer science doing mostly formal mathematical logic. I'm also the head developer of TechLive, author of the tech infrastructure, the TechLive manager, security stuff, all kind of stuff. I do also quite some in Debian, mostly Tech and the KDE Plasma area nowadays. And if I have time outside, I'm also a professional mountain guide and hanging around in the mountains. So Tech, for those who don't know, so it's a typesetting language. You write like a normal text input and compile it to DVI or nowadays mostly PDF output. It has been published, well, the first written by Don Knuth, famous for computer scientist for algorithm. First release was in the late 70s. Interesting fact is that it has a paragraph formatter 30 years before Adobe introduced it in InDesign. InDesign got it like 5 or 10 years ago. And it has superior mass step signaling, but a lot of other things. A funny thing about the history, just in the very first talk, plenary talk in this conference, CTAN was mentioned as the oldest one, and Joachim, with whom I often converse, was quoted here from the Eurotech. So yes, CTAN was the first, let's say, language community, and it's still thriving. It makes a lot of errors that was later fixed by, especially when compared to Gran, but well, we'll see later about this. So the history of TechLive, it started actually around, well, beginning of the 1990s with CDs that were created from the Dutch user group. In 95, it was based on teTeX. teTeX was Thomas Essertech, who compiled this, and that was also distributed within the user groups. And the first edition of called Tech Live was 96. Back then, it was actually runnable directly from the CD. We had several editions with free software removed, non-free software moved, and macOS support added. Since 2006, Carl Berry is maintaining everything. And in 2008, that was turning point. I will talk about this later on. The new network infrastructure was added with network installation, updates, Tech Live Manager, and all kind of stuff. There are lots of other things going on, but not of interest. So to give you an idea, we still distribute DVD images. We actually press images and send them out to, member of user groups. It is distributed with books. This is normally done in March. Nowadays, it was a CD before, now it's DVD. We're on the limit of the DVD size already. So and then it's a network distribution, so you can install and update over the network. We have more or less daily updates of packages according to what CTAN gives, and TechLive Manager, what we're discussing here, is doing all the management. Just to give you an idea, because before CTAN was mentioned as package management name. So CTAN is actually not the package managing, it is an accumulation of whatever the authors upload in whatever format. So CRAN, the RNAT network, has a very strict format requirements. We don't have this. This is a big problem with CTAN because it makes importing from CTAN quite a complicated thing. So what is TechLive? TechLive is what closest comes to what before was mentioned as is getting everything from CTAN in a ready consumable way so that you can install it with a package manager, you can delete, update, with all this kind of stuff. At the moment, around 4,000 packages and a gigabyte of total installed size. It's multi-platform. I will come to this later on. It's also uniform across platforms, so we try to have the same behavior across all architectures and platforms. We have their own package manager, Tech Life Manager, daily updates, and the FSG. Well, growth is as well, just usual. We have linear growth, I would say, over the last 15 or 20 years. Actually, we have the history of all the stuff is in a Git repo, originally in a Subversion repository. So multi-platform, what does it mean, multi-platform? It has been mentioned today many times, and it is quite often. So for us, that means not only architectures, because there are quite a lot of it, means also operating systems. Actually, here we should add operating systems with libc versions, because nowadays we have also glibc and musl and musl libc systems that have to be treated differently. And well, all of these are the platforms we are running on. So to give you an idea of what other famous projects were famous for multi-platform, like Go claims to be extremely multi-platform. They support, well, a few BSDs, a few Linux, macOS, and Windows. LibreOffice is even worse. To give you an idea what TechLife has, we have about 450 programs, of which 150, 160 are binaries, so actually compiled stuff. And we support at least these are out of the box on the DVD. So Cygwin, BSD, Linux in all kind of variants, Linux with MUSCL, macOS, old macOS, BSD, Solaris, Windows, and we have several others that normally don't fit on the DVD, like Alpha Linux, MIPSL, IRIX, IX, HappyBux. So stuff that some of them actually got lost over time because we don't have the hardware anymore available. But all of them are supported in principle running. And for many of them, there are still binaries in the online network, but not on the DVD anymore. So how to achieve this? So that for us, there were a few things. First of all, I have to say, despite the general move to XML in many areas, we moved in a different direction. We moved from XML to human and machine-readable configuration files that based mostly on the Debian packages files, so stanza-based, so a paragraph, a stanza, and plain text files. Then implementation language, that was probably the hardest decision, and it turns out there is not much option if you want to have something workable on all different platforms I mentioned before. There leaves Perl. I will discuss a few things about this, and then a strict separation between auto-generated and static content. So human versus machine readable. So before 2008, we had this as input data. It was called TPM, Tech Package, I don't know what it was for, Tech Package Manager, I don't know. Actually, these files are still in use, probably, as far as I remember, from MikTeX, a Windows-only distribution. So the point is, the problem with this was there was hard to parse with standard Unix tools. If you want to parse it with some command line or a shell or whatever, you need libxml or whatever to parse it, which is a library which is not available on many of the systems we are supporting. And in addition, it had a lot of static and generated content mixed together. So that was something I didn't like. What we have now is the input is this, an empty file. Yes, it's just an empty file, and the output, we generate from that the object that is, so to say, the main entry in the database. That is everything generated automatically based on, of course, some settings, but it's for all of them. So that is something, a clear separation between input and output. You see also that the format is very close to what Debian package files looks like. So like key values, simple key values, and then you have lists of files into 3 or 4 categories. So why did we choose the format? It's human readable. It is Unix tools readable, grep, set, whatever. I mean, counting how many files are in the database, or easy checking on consistency, like whether a file is mentioned 2 times, is very easy because, well, you have all the tools at hand. It's also easily parsable in all kind of programming languages. You don't need a lot of heavy libraries, and it's easy extendable in this format. And your daily cron job will be happy. So we have a lot of cron jobs running, updating the daily system. So why not XML? As I said, because it is really hard to parse it from shell or from other without some heavy library that is not available on many systems. So the implementation language I mentioned before, it's Perl, because it's everywhere. Perl is the only language that you find on every, well, besides Windows, where we ship it ourselves, but besides Windows on every system. It has proper model system, it's fine. So we considered Python, but at that time when we wrote it, there was Python 2 versus 3 disaster, which still continues. And Python is still not installed by default on many systems. C, of course, or C++ would be nice, but compiling, writing the whole stuff in C would have taken much longer. Perl was quite convenient. Okay, a bit about TeX Manager, the package manager. So, it started actually as a Lua script. Well, very, very early in 2006 or 7, and soon changed to Perl. First, it was only responsible for changing a few settings of an installed TeX, and while over the first year of usage or writing, I implemented online updates, and so while packaging from the server side, that we provide packages on the server and that we can actually update this. So a typical run is like download databases. Similar to Debian, you can have several repositories. Different to it, we have pinned repo, so we have one main and sub repository, not all are the same level. Check for newer packages. This is trivial, just by comparing revision numbers with pinning, because you can say you want the package always from this that specific repository. Then download the containers. So we have containers for different types of files, like the source files, the documentation run, and binary files, and update them to the database. So that is quite standard. I think also the logic behind determining updates and the order of removals and updates is quite straightforward. What is quite important is a certification or verification about that you don't get rubbish on it. At the end, people install binary programs from there, and with an usual TeX document, this is also well documented. You can hack also a lot of strange things. So what happens, TeX Manager optionally, but by default it does. TeX Manager verifies the authenticity of the database using GnuBG, and then checks the integrity of all the containers that are downloaded and installs the package. So what does it mean, the authenticity? So we have the TeX database you see here. It contains for every container the checksum, SHA-2 512 checksum, and this file is the database is again checksummed with SHA-512, and the checksum is signed. So TeX Manager downloads the checksum and the signature, checks that everything okay, uses the cached database or downloads a new copy of the database, verifies that the checksum and of the database agrees with the downloaded checksum, and by that has a guarantee that the contained checksums of the container are correct. And after that, downloading the containers and checking only the checksum of the SHA-512 checksum of the containers. So this way we guarantee that what we are creating on our main server and shipping out via the CETA network, because we don't have a control over the mirror system. It's often provided, CETA mirrors are often provided by universities or companies or, I don't know, user groups. So it could be that there's some bad players there. So the TeX Manager will cry out if there is some inconsistency. Of course, there is a lot of testing before shipping out. I mean, it's everything on a much smaller scale. I mean, I was impressed about the Conda Forge discussion presentation about how many packages. On the other hand, how many people work on TeX Live. It's a two-man show. It's Carl Berry and me doing all this stuff here. So normal package, we are work on functionality tests of updated packages. But that is very tricky because TeX is a bit nasty package language to check. The infrastructure, the main packages themselves, they are tested. There's also a staged install, so we don't ship them out automatically. We have a separate repository that TeX Live Critical that contains the next, so to say, the next release that people can test, just in case bugs creep into the infrastructure stuff, and that is pushed out once in a while to the normal users. And then we do a full consistency installation test, full installation test of the TeX Live consistency check, all this before pushing out to the main CTAN network, and from where everything is mirrored out. What are these consistency checks? As normal is that all files are there, all packages are there, the execute statements and dependencies are correct, and a full installation. So to conclude, a few things. So first thing, multi-platform is hard. Actually getting binaries for TeX Live compiled is considerable endeavor. So in preparation for the DVD, we freeze for normally 1 week to 6 months because getting everything compiled for all the systems is rather challenging, especially with several libraries we include, like half-pass. Bumping up the C++ levels higher and higher, we have to go to newer and newer distributions, which get you newer and newer glibc, which gets you incompatibilities running on older systems. So that is every year a hard fight. The language options, as I mentioned before already, they are quite restricted. So we cannot really use any other language. I was thinking about getting it to writing it in Lua. Why? Because TeX, there is TeX Lua. This is Lua TeX, one engine, one core engine. Nowadays, so it's a TeX interpreter with Lua built in. So you have a Lua interpreter also with the TeX interpreter. So that would be, because we don't, it's automatically, we have a language where we can write, but rewriting everything in Lua is a huge work I don't want to do at the moment. What I would like to see is a better integration or interaction of TeX Live Manager with distribution. So this is quite, I mean, I'm also packaging for Debian, so I know what this means, but it is, so we have this user mode, but it's not optimal. It would be better to have better interaction with distributions. Then what is also a huge problem is, sounds trivial, but actually it is downloading lots of files. We have, as I said, we have 3 to 4 container per package times 4,000, so it's 12,000 files that often get downloaded for an installation. And to get this working somehow uniformly, well, you don't want to have code paths for everything across all platforms is a pain. So we use LWP to get a stable connection and keep them up, but it falls back to curl and the wget. And I just mentioned certificates because it just popped up again. I mean, the Let's Encrypt ISGRG root X1 problem is still beating around. So yeah, it's surprisingly difficult to get this right. Then CTAN, as I mentioned before, so I wish always, and I hope, but it will not change anymore, for stricter rules. I mean, like CRAN has extremely strict rules of the format of what is uploaded. So that is something that would be really helpful for getting distributing, because we could directly install from CTAN, like CRAN, the CRAN manager installs directly from Grima. This is something we cannot do at the moment. And I mean, something, because it was discussed here, reuse of some universal package manager would be nice, but I haven't seen any of the package managers being able to run on the set of systems we are supporting, even the reduced set of systems we are putting onto the DBT. Okay, some resources if you want to check back. So the main website is on the tac.org TechLive. That's the main website with all, well, user documentation, developers documentation, all kind of stuff. There is a web view. So the main repository is a Subversion repository. Actually, we had before we had a Perforce repository, but I think that is long forgotten. We only have the log files. So the Subversion repository goes back 2005. And the Subversion repository is here with several trunks. And I, for my own, and because I don't like Subversion anymore, I run a Git SVN mirror since also quite some time. Free to clone, just be careful, it's 50 gigabyte at the moment, but it contains the complete history, and yeah, just in case you want. In case for contact, so there's techlive@tac.org. This is the mailing list for a user, but for any kind of everything is discussed there. There's specifically for distributions a mailing list in case you're interested, and of course you can always contact myself also. So the 20 minutes are over. Thanks a lot for your attention, and we're looking forward for any question or requests or everything. Thanks.
Hello, Norbert. I'm jumping in for Todd because he had to run to some work emergency. So let's see if there are any questions.
Everyone is tired.
I guess you're also in Germany or somewhere close. Are you also somewhere in Germany or?
No, I'm in Japan. It's 5:30 in the morning now.
That's crazy.
I stayed up all night and enjoyed all the talks, but now I will drop into bed for at least an hour or something.
So someone is saying, thank you for your service.
Well, but, I see many packages here are doing voluntary service, right? This is quite common. It's rather a rare case that some company employs or sponsors this kind of work.
No.
Yes.
I think all this packaging is very valuable for the entire economy. So should find ways to.
Do you have broad thoughts on the role and future of tech? Of course, I mean, the reality is that a lot of things are done nowadays in well, the usual products. But I think tech is still strong. For example, here in Japan, actually, quite a lot of publishers use tech for book production. Nowadays, we have also ebook production using tech. It is still used. So I myself, well, besides writing my own papers and this kind of stuff, I use it for. Well, I also did study Tibetan or write Tibetan text or Sanskrit text and this kind of stuff. Many things that are really hard to do with other products, I have to say. Also, I have to use them. Broad thoughts on the role and future. I mean, it is very good for every automated system, like automated receipt generation system, invoice system. So that is something where a lot of people are using something like tech related, often generated from XML. So there was XML tech at some time. I'm not sure how good it's running, but there are different systems now where you can feed in XML into a pipeline to generate, because that is what nowadays quite often used. And of course, then there is well, roles on, well, book or technical documentation or whatever kind of documentation publishing. I mean, fortunately, nowadays we can write most of the things in Pandoc and convert it in Markdown and use Pandoc for publication. That is for what I use a lot for technical documentation. I think TeX will not go away. For that, it is has been here for too long, and it's growing actually, the use from what I see. Of course, it will not take over world domination. That is something. If you remember the first slide of the macro package, then it's somehow obvious that only some maniacs who enjoy writing special code will actually use this for programming.
Right, here's another question.
Well, I always feel sad that we never got good HTML output of scientific papers with TeX. Well, that is a good point. There's TeX for hypertext that has been dormant for quite some time, in particular also because the main developer passed away a few years ago, but has seen quite some activity recent. The output of TeX for hypertext is a very opinioned HTML code and makes it very similar to the actual TeX document, which is probably not what most people would expect. Right, there are other converters that are in this sense a bit better because you can much better, because the parse, like to say, abstract document structure out of it, where you can better configure the output that is generated on their HTML side. There are a few projects here. LaTeX.ml is mentioned in the MacTeX chat. I think it has been greatly improved. I mean, there are even different stuff. Is like that you can PDF viewer in the browser, right? I mean, nowadays is very common. Yeah. Read academic papers from archives web pages. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I think unfortunately we have to slowly end the broadcast of the last talk for today and for this conference, actually. We still have a bunch of lightning talks coming up.
Yeah.
And maybe, Norbert, you can join
in the
element
MacTeX
room
chat.
and
I will. Yeah, I'm there.
answer some questions over there. Oh, cool.